Maybe,
It has to remain here. It's kind of like a skip.
do we dare mention it?
Yeah, absolutely.
We should have a discussion about it.
Yeah.
At board level.
Just a minute. Cursor is just terrible. You see any admits, let me know. Yeah. All right, it's March 26th, our Orinoco EDA meeting. So with that, we'll call to order, roll call
Okay, Ryland,
here.
Steph, not here, Jamie.
Here.
Paul,
Here.
and Jan.
Here.
And Adam. Beautiful.
Okay, so we have an agenda. Is there any amendments or anything to change? And then I make a motion, we approve the EDA agenda. Paul?
I think Jan did. You got it. I think Jan did before I got it.
Jan,
out.
okay, I heard.
Before I got it out, so.
Seeing no other comments, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, it's approved. Copy of our January 23rd EDA meeting minutes. Let's make a motion to.
I'll make a motion to approve the meeting minutes as written.
Second,
Jamie second.
Jamie, thank you. Double sided, so make sure you see the last page. No other comments, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye,
Aye.
opposed, that's approved. See no public input here or guests, so unless you have any comments.
Nope.
Okay. We'll go ahead with our business and do business.
Welcome, Kathy.
A vacancy, and we're very happy and glad that Kathy's able to join us. So,
Thank you.
And inside your packets, you should each have a copy of her application for the Economic Development Authority. And then Ryland also provided, it's got information on EDA questions for interviews and a scoring sheet. If you'd like to use those for this process, please do. So each of you has one of those in your packets. But what we'll end up doing is throughout this evening, we're going to speak and see what we think. Then the EDA would be able to vote to add a new member, if we so choose. And then if that's the case, it gets recommended up to city council for approval. Did you want to just introduce yourself and maybe why you want to come on
Well,
board?
I'm Kathy Gable. I'm new to Orinoco by, my husband and I have lived here now for just over 2 years. But we've been coming to Orinoco for 30 years for the gold rush. But our daughter and son-in-law moved here, built a home out by Ryland and moved here about 10 years ago, and they have our 3 grandchildren. So that brought us from southern Iowa. We moved here from Keokuk, Iowa. My husband was a born and raised person there. I moved around the state of Iowa as a kid. My father was a Methodist minister. So I ended up there in 8th grade and then left there 2 years ago. I've been on economic development. I'm a business owner, and have been a business owner. I've been in healthcare my whole life, starting out as a registered nurse, but then in the last 20 years have managed businesses, and then the last 12 years have owned my own business, and we still own the business. We have some really great people that operate it for us, and so it gives us the opportunity to kind of retire, move up here. Economic development, I was active in Keokuk. I don't think, when they, well, not just in Keokuk, but in Lee County, when they called me up to ask me about the Keokuk economic development, they called me because they wanted somebody who represented healthcare, because they felt like that was of interest in economic development. And as it turns out, it was, but I also really enjoyed the other opportunities that economic development did. While I was in, I was Keokuk Economic Development for several years and then got onto Lee County Economic Development, which is the county economic development. They just recently opened a project. We had started there, a new marina in Fort Madison, Iowa. If you Google anything, it's a beautiful new, boating, experience for people on the Mississippi, Keokuk and Fort Madison. All of Lee County pretty much is on the Mississippi River, very much, that's a big part of the tourism that comes in there. And I went, so moving to Orinoco, and I see I wrote this in here, the history of a difficult city council. Now, the only reason I wrote that in there was because I moved here and people would say, oh, you don't want to be on city council. And I don't know where that stemmed from or what, but I commend the people that are on city council because I know it can't be an easy job. But I have worked with, in the community and worked with city councils and all that kind of stuff with economic development. The other thing we did while I was in economic development in Lee County is we brought a billion-dollar fertilizer plant to Southeast Iowa, and that was in the county. It was not in the city of Keokuk or Fort Madison, but it has since, it has had several owners, but has been a very successful business and brought in a lot of not just construction jobs at the beginning, but also the challenges of finding full-time labor and all that. And that was exciting. So I always enjoyed also getting to meet the people that were interested in economic development. I thought, we're kind of a different breed of people and we like challenges usually, or the people I have always worked with like challenges. Most of them have always been men. We have finally integrated women in our county economic development in the last 20 years in Keokuk and Lee County, but the majority have always been men, which either way, it works for me. So that's pretty much it.
Good.
Probably too much, more than you wanted.
No, that's great. Great histories.
Thanks. Now, one thing I would ask before I consider joining economic development is that you have to go around the room and tell me your full names and then repeat them like until I start calling you by name because
6 months.
yeah, well, I know Paul, so I have to address him every time I see him, and I know Rylan. So I always make sure to address them so I remember their names and not, plus I want to say hello, but anyway, it's nice to get to know new people. It's been great moving to Orinoco. I love the town. I love living here, so.
All right, well, I will begin this little process here and just introduce myself. I'm Rebecca Charles. I am the Economic Development Director, so I basically help put the meetings together and I do a lot of the work that happens in the background. So yeah, I moved here originally from Brookings, South Dakota, via Colorado. Got my master's degree in international relations and politics, so that's where I branched from.
Gotcha. Cool. Nice to meet you. And I met you the other night. That was a
Yep.
fabulous event.
Thank you. I'm glad you enjoyed it.
Really, yeah, I think that was well attended and it was exciting to see people engaged like that,
Yeah,
especially for a small community.
yep. No, I'm glad you enjoyed it.
Yeah, thank you.
I can go next. Hello, I'm Jamie Rothy. I've been a part of the Orinoco community for about 6 years now. Been in the Rochester area for 16, by way of rural South Dakota, not in Brookings, but in the north side of the state. I grew up in South Minneapolis, so
Wow.
perspective I bring is kind of
Yeah.
urban living and rural living and in between. I helped to stand up regional, 3 countywide economic development agency in South Dakota and a model
Nice.
that's used and still going today. So I bring that with me. And then I also, my professional business hat is I work for the DMC EDA in Rochester, so the Destination Medical Center Economic Development Agency.
Thank you. Oh,
So I'm-
fabulous.
Day job.
Yes.
So I'm excited to be here. We truly love Orinoco. We've blended family of 4 kids and
Great.
I'm just really love it here. So
Paul Pendergrass, been here for 33 years or 34, something like that. And worked around Rochester over the years. And city council back in 2001, 2002. Recently come back to it.
And Paul's
through an invitation.
Paul's one of my
She's a
neighbors,
neighbor.
so I've gotten to know Paul and his wife a little bit.
And we got to know Hazel, her dog.
My
Her dog
dog.
comes visit once in a while.
Part of our
Didn't
family.
like to get too close, but you know they're there. She's there.
She's intimidated by you, Paul, probably. I don't know. She's intimidated by a lot of people, but once she gets to know her, she'll.
Yeah. She always got this. Gotta stay, keep her distance. That's what she
Hazel,
does.
our dog and I, our dog, my husband and I just got back from a trip. We drove from here to San Diego
Hmm.
via Route 66 and back.
Awesome.
And I just got back yesterday, so I'm tired, but it's a long way to San Diego from Orinoco. I didn't realize how
Yeah.
long. Went through South Dakota.
Yeah.
Well, I'm Rylan, and just some of my background, we moved here about 10 years ago, 11 years ago. And I lived 2 or 3 blocks from your son-in-law, Adam, in Asbury, on the west, it's on the west side of a bedroom community on the west
Oh,
side
I
of
didn't
Dubuque.
realize that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Asbury, so
Yeah, nice community.
it is very nice, it's grown a lot.
Yes.
all
Dubuque
connected
has
now.
grown a lot.
But, so yeah, I worked at John Deere in Dubuque for 33 years and retired in December of 2012 and moved up here. Same reason, kids. Daughter lives in Rochester. At that time, my wife's sister and husband lived in Lewiston. My father-in-law was in St. Charles. And we've been coming up to this area for 33 plus years.
Mhm.
Visit my sister-in-law and brother-in-law, so. We always wanted a small town. Both my wife and I are from small towns, so. That's where Orinoco kept drawing us back to River Park and everything, so.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
But yeah, it's the council, I've been on council now for 9 years.
Wow.
So.
Is that the
council-
longest person on the council ever?
No, Kevin was on it for a while.
Yeah, Kevin was,
8 or 10 years.
he was 12 years, he was 6 years council, 6 years mayor.
Okay.
So, a lot going on. The sewer plant is getting close, it's
Oh.
starting up this week. So that's
This
exciting
week?
news, yeah,
Wow, that's
That's
a,
exciting.
yeah.
yeah. I bet from you folks who've been in the
So we
trenches.
still have a lot of work ahead of us.
Got a
over the
new
next
place to
couple
pack our stuff.
What's that?
Got a new place to pack our stuff.
Yeah,
So, yeah, they're hopefully connect, Orinoco Estates is all part of our treatment. We
right.
offer that service, so
Okay.
hopefully they'll be connecting tomorrow, first time, so it's exciting time.
We're gonna have to have a like citywide flush or something, aren't we?
Not at one time.
Are we supposed to like
handle that?
Champagne over the thing like a
Have any
boat?
radio
or something?
announcers saying, "Oh,
I
three
put all
o'clock."
that blood, sweat, and tears into it, I'd be breaking something over, yeah.
Somebody to call KROC.
Jumbo scissors to get into the bathroom.
I mean,
Yeah.
like a lot of fun things. Sorry.
Adam Beedling. My family, was raised in Rochester and graduated in 99 from John Marshall, so my family's been there. And my wife and I moved to Orinoco about 6 years ago, I think it was. We're just a few doors down from Ryland, close to the park entrance in River Park, and we love it. We love the community, love the neighborliness of it, love the small town, and I have a real estate background. I've been doing residential real estate for about 20 years. Don't have a lot of experience with development and commercial things, but I'm excited to learn and ask a lot of
Yeah.
questions and
So you're a realtor?
yeah.
Okay, great. to
Yeah,
know.
I enjoy that very much. And it gives me some freedom and flexibility. I love having a calendar that I get to be in charge of.
Absolutely.
Your clock.
Yeah, it's nice. It'd be really hard to go back to 9 to 5 job.
Retirement's got the same benefit.
Yeah, I imagine.
Although you don't ever have to go to work.
Yeah. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
My name is Jan Tronson and I've lived in the area my entire life. I own property in Orinoco here. Retired federal law enforcement officer, 27 years. That was 12 years ago already
Wow.
to do that. And last year was the first year I decided not to work for anybody and just do something that I want to do. And that's kind of where I'm at now,
That's a nice place.
to be able to do that. Been part of Orinoco Gold Rush for 20 some plus years.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Buying and selling, doing things. It's a very nice community. And it's really a diamond in the rough
Yeah,
that done the right way can keep the small town, but yet also grow in the sense of for property. And my question is help the owners out of property taxes if you get the right people to come to town. So
Mhm.
I was asked to put in for the board and I did, and that's one where I'm at.
Great, nice to meet all of you.
And I didn't mention this, but I actually work for a company called CETA, or Community and Economic Development Associates. So I contract with the city, so I am in town every Thursday.
Okay,
Except for the weeks that we do EDA, in which case I was here today. But I
Okay.
am in office at least once a week.
great.
And then one gentleman that's not here is Jeff Shupe, and he's the owner of Shad Tracy Sign Company.
Oh, okay.
He lives in, he has another business in Inver Heights, outside Minneapolis.
Yeah.
And
familiar
so,
with it.
but he usually's here, but maybe just the weather was, they're having more snow up there, I believe, so.
The Mallard Supper Club in Inver Grove Heights. Highly recommend.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah.
Excellent. Okay, well, that's, so I do have one question for you. Do you have any experience with website design,
No,
maintaining it?
gosh. No, I'm
Why
too
not?
old. I'm too old. Now that's your
We need
generation.
somebody.
Your generation, and maybe Paul and yours. I am out of that. league. Nice
I
try
use
though,
MySpace.
Rylan. Nice try.
All right, well,
I'd love to be able to tackle it. I really would love
well,
that.
so you would be
skill set.
willing to take classes?
I have a hard time taking my finger to work off my phone.
Oh, what's that?
Hard enough time getting my finger to work from my phone.
No kidding. I know it. Yeah, I was confused today about something and it drives me.
Yeah.
Sorry, I can't help out there. There's too few of those people that exist.
Yes, younger people too, I think, have a knack for that.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I might be able to get my 8th grade granddaughter to do it for you, but
Okay, well,
I can't.
I guess we don't have any age limit, do we?
No, yeah, I think there is one. I mean, I think typically we like voting age, but,
For website development.
Yeah.
well, no, just for membership on board.
Oh, yeah. Does it have to be a member?
No,
You just want.
we just want to hire out. We can absolutely
Yeah,
do
we
that.
can
No
do
age
that.
limit.
We don't have a website?
There is a website, but it's not, there's some updating that probably would need to be done. I know that's something that got mentioned on a number of surveys too, is people would like to see that updated.
Have a Facebook page? I believe.
Yeah, and as far as I know, everything gets seen a lot. People do actually engage with them quite often.
Is it the Economic Development Group has a Facebook page?
No, it's just the city of Rochester or city of Orinoco,
City
and
of
then
Orinoco.
they have their own, the city of Orinoco, sorry, I switched my head over.
Yes, I've seen that.
Yeah,
I've seen
they do.
that.
Now, you raised a good point, because
Whoever wants.
a lot of cities, EDA is part of the city website,
Mhm.
so it's just a matter of.
Tweaking it.
We have a new city administrator starting tomorrow,
Okay,
and so, we have a lot of work to get caught up on our city website and a lot of other activities with, and we're also hiring a part-time administrative assistant as well, so.
Yeah, I'm sure the EDA will be able to get a tab or a page on our website that we
Yeah.
can then use with all of our information. The EDA actually just got started here last year.
okay.
So it's a brand new one. We're actually looking at solidifying our bylaws this evening, so everybody's kind of on a nice learning curve as we go along.
We've often in the past year, we've talked about EDA and hiring a CETA person, but without our wastewater treatment plant, we had no reason. to grow.
Right,
So that's kind
okay.
of a precursor for us approving EDA last spring in anticipation of the startup and everything, so
Yeah,
that's finally happening. So.
yeah.
Okay, well, anybody else have any other questions? I think your experience is
Yeah, and
excellent and
I have, planning, financial skills, that kind of thing, but I don't, also, you don't want me doing numbers. You don't ever want me to be your treasurer or anything, because I don't know how that all works.
Every single person said that on the front.
Everyone's like, I do have a question.
And I'm not good at being a secretary either. I'm sloppy, but.
We all threw that out there too, the first
Okay.
day, don't
You
worry.
got me for it.
You shared your background in some of the different economic development
Yeah.
agencies. Would you share a little bit about the projects or different things that you were most close to, like in how was there some things that you really found your skills? Like you said, maybe that you're not in numbers, but not secretary, but are there certain things that really you really enjoy doing and working on? Just
Yeah,
what you share.
I think the thing I liked the most was when you saw completion, but you have to remember that that sometimes takes years, as you know, being in economic development. So the process. One process I remember being pretty involved in was recruiting industry to Keokuk. It was you know, castings and Keokuk was a very industrial city back in the day. And then I don't know what all happened, you know, a lot of things happened over the last 30 years and a lot of the jobs went elsewhere. And one particular company packed up their bags and went to Mexico and left, probably 150 skilled welders and people that worked with the, you know, doing that type of work, left them there in Keokuk. Well, you want them to pack up and move to Mexico, which they probably could have, but that didn't seem very enticing to them. And so we recruited a family, and it was kind of a, you know, a joint effort to recruit them. They were a family that he had gone around and started up other businesses that had, I don't know what his real knack was, other than he could turn businesses around from a financial standpoint. And he came in and looked at it and scratched his head and, but we finally got them he decided to invest, and then we helped him with the process of going to the county to get additional funds there. Moving and relocating his family and then relocating some of the other people, you know, like the real estate, that kind of thing. The other thing we did that I'm probably the most proud of personally is I got word one day that the radio station owners were gonna pull out. They weren't making enough money for the Keokuk radio station. Well, that radio station has been there since before I moved to town in 1972 or whatever. And I got in touch with, well, one of the gals that was working there is just a person working there at the radio, but had a lot of good background, was one said, you know, Kathy, what are we gonna do without a radio? So we worked it out with the radio, with this gal, and another guy came along whose wife had moved to town because she was a dentist. A lot like what you're planning with this Mayo thing. Wife was a dentist, but he wanted something to do besides be the office manager at the local vet. And so he invested and she invested in the bank. So, you know, it was bringing everybody together and now it's still very viable radio station with a lot of fun programming. And, you know, just bringing some youth together to get them the tools to, so.
That's great.
Yeah.
Thanks for sharing. It's
Yeah.
really wonderful to hear.
Anybody else have any questions at all?
I think it's a great summary of your activity, especially with the county too, from a
Yeah,
different perspective versus the city, having that county a bigger
yeah,
exposure. I
and
guess.
you know, that was good, and then there was, you know, there was sometimes, you know, vying for the almighty dollar and all that, but the county was more involved with the state level, and we had the gal that is the state economic development gal down a lot, you know, very political in the county as opposed to the city. The city was somewhat political, but the county was, you know, you had to involve state people and
Mhm.
sometimes federal people in the projects you were working on, so.
Okay. All right, Are you involved with real estate at all?
As far as,
Working with landowners?
yeah, we had an industrial park
Okay,
that we hadn't had a parcel sold in that thing since they created it. There was 4 guys that created this industrial park, and each of them had their buildings, and all of them had, you know, long since retired, but there was still plenty of property out there, and we got the first parcel sold in probably 20-25 years. The other real estate thing we did was there was a there was a plant there that had probably questionable things that would have gotten into the ground.
Hotspots.
Yeah, I don't know if it was a hot spot, but yeah, it was enough that you couldn't go build on it, you know?
It's a pollution spot.
Right, and so we went through all the red tape for that, and I just have read recently where they finally have gotten it to where they're gonna come in and do whatever they need to do to fix that. It was a multi-million-dollar cleanup, so
Okay, interesting, yes. Yeah, we've, within our city limits, we really don't have a location or a zone for, industrial park, but that may be something in the future too,
Yeah,
for us to look at. Just going through the list of. So what brought you to Goldbrook for 30 years?
my husband and I, and we've been married, we went to high school together, we were high school sweethearts. Got married at 19. Well, we didn't have any money, so we bought all our stuff at auctions and whatever. And, that just turned us into, antique people.
Mhm.
And so we did a lot of buying and selling antiques over the years to supplement. He was a contractor and I've been a nurse and then, in later years, business, but while I was a nurse working, we hauled Jessica around, we went all over the country, but
Really?
Gold Rush was always, I remember as a younger person in my twenties when I had, the ability to walk the whole thing in a half a day. You couldn't get in here. You
Yeah,
could
that's-
not get in here as a customer, as a vendor. But funny thing is, I bought several things at Gold Rush over the years, and they're all in my house because they were gems of things that that's what brought us here, buying and
Okay.
selling antiques. Never sold here, always bought here. Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. Anybody else have any other comments or? For Kathy? Okay,
Now, am I dismissed or do I have to stay for the
well, do you have any
meeting?
questions for us?
We meet once a month.
Fourth Tuesday of every month.
Are you involved in anything? I mean, so the involvement is an hour or 2 hours a month. And then if we're working on a special project or recruitment or something like that, then we're kind of expected to.
There could be
Probably-
subcommittees on a particular subject.
Sure.
A couple of us taking stuff.
Yeah, I have no problem with the time commitment at this point in time. I got away from everything, but I haven't told my husband that I'm volunteering for something new, so I'll, run it past him, but I think he usually sees things my way.
You might be watching at home, you never know.
Could be.
Yeah, there he is in the corner.
No, yeah, he might be. No, no, I think we're
Well,
good.
just check the zoom out on. See,
Your
or-
wife has volunteered for something again, he'll be like, a surprise, surprise, surprise. Because when we moved up here, I was on a lot of committees and a lot of things, active in my church, active in my community in all kinds of ways. And I told him, I'm just gonna retire, so I'm sure he won't be surprised. Yeah.
Well, this is just a little, oops, so that's.
Yeah, this isn't, yeah,
Everything to nothing is too much. Gotta have something there.
right. But no, I was just inquiring, you don't want me to stay for the entire meeting, do you, if I'm?
Completely up to you. It is an
Yeah.
open meeting, so you're absolutely able to. Otherwise, we'll have our little discussion and you can
Yeah.
go about your evening.
I think I will, just simply because like I said, we just got home from traveling yesterday and still a little, even though I didn't fly on a jet, we drove in a car, I'm still a little lagged.
I was going to comment, when I was in the service,
You drove home from San Diego?
well, I was going to Las Vegas,
Oh,
so I followed from Southwest Iowa, went down the Highway 66 and followed as far as I could to Flagstaff maybe.
yeah.
So
Yeah,
that was in 1969,
so
so.
you saw all the things.
Yeah.
We just saw relics. But we always told my dad, oh, would you please take us to California? Please take, he said, you kids can't make it around the block. I'm not taking you to California. We did get to South Dakota, but California was off
He's off the record.
it wasn't gonna happen.
And I'll give you that too. If you need anything,
Thank
I'll just give
you.
you a call anytime.
Sounds great.
Yep.
You guys have a good evening.
You as well.
Nice meeting all
Great to
of
meet
you.
you.
Thank you, Kathy.
Yes.
So I will continue the discussion. I'll make a motion. We recommend Kathy Gable to the city council as our potential new EDA member.
I'll second that motion, Ryland.
Jan. Any other comments?
I think it's good that someone steps forward and if she talked to us, she's got some experience in some different areas and it's always good to have someone come to a committee that wants to be on a committee and shows some versus being just asked, "Oh, I gotta go do it, so I'll go do it," versus showing up and being, I thought she was very enthusiastic about what she talked about and as she said, she's willing to attempt it and put forward. I think that's a plus in my eyes, is that you got someone that's willing, that wants to serve on something and nobody could ever say, well, geez, why'd you pick this person? Where were you? You know, where was your name when put up? So I thought she did very well. That's my opinion.
Okay. Any other comments?
You know, she's been a neighbor for quite a while, known her for a couple, 3 years, so that's a little bit. And then kind of want to see what can be better. No, it doesn't matter that, it's a good thing.
All right. If not, there's any other comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. That's approved, so we'll put that on the agenda for the April 19th meeting, I think it is. All right, community engagement.
All right, so recap on the event. We ended up having just over 45 people attend, which was fantastic. All of our tables were filled and we had a lot of people moving around that room and having some really good conversation about different ideas for the community. And then I have not had a chance going through all the data. I'm trying to put it all together into that report, but unfortunately getting through all 130 some surveys that we got back. So it's a lot more typing than I was prepared to have to get done before this meeting. But to make sure that you guys kind of have an idea of what feedback we were getting, all of the actual written comments that were submitted at the end of each section of the survey, there was any questions or comments regarding that particular topic. This is all of those that are in there. So that's the confidential document that you guys have. The reason why we're saying it's confidential, there's stuff in there that's directed specifically at me. There's things in there that are specifically directed at other people on council or on the EDA. I just thought that I would make sure that everyone got a chance to see the raw data. We just don't want it to go out into the public. This particular part of it will not be included in the report, because we're gonna be using just the data sets, not.
So could you just talk about what you plan to do with this information, how you're gonna?
First, we'll go ahead and we'll start putting everything into, charts, essentially. Everything's gonna get charted. So that we can see, the difference between how many veterans versus non-veterans, what types of work people do, different things that people want to focus on. To kind of help us. It will then go into a point where we can evaluate the data and start saying, okay, these are the things that are the most important. These are the things that are being brought up the most. And being able to start looking for solutions and financing for different projects.
So that will be on the city website or Facebook page links? Okay,
Yep, because once we have it, it'll be a good city document just to have available for people who are looking to come into town or.
and what's your time frame on that then?
I'm working on it as quick as I can, considering I only work 4 days a month. I would say probably 1 month to 2 months.
Because at the meeting, people were asking when we see
Right.
the information, so. At least in my conversation, I said a month to 2 months, just because we have a lot of data and
Yep,
so.
yep.
Couple people asked if we were gonna have any follow-up meetings of that magnitude with that group of people. That's something we can talk about, but maybe need to decide tonight, but it's something we should maybe think about if we want to have a follow-up meeting and use those different domains and just kind of maybe highlight something that the EDA thinks is something that we could spend some time looking at or prioritizing.
Absolutely.
Different subjects.
Maybe that's something that we'd want to do after you kind of compiled some of this information, you kind of know which areas you are visiting.
Right.
So just kind of keep that in the back of your heads about how we disseminate that information, because I think they want to see it. And right, they should see it.
Right. And the excitement level over people seeing it is really, that's nice to see. It's really nice to see. That's doesn't always happen that way.
Not all towns get the opportunity that Orinoco has of designing itself, basically.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
So could you describe, I appreciate the comments about keeping it confidential because there are a lot of sensitive comments
Right.
throughout it. I also appreciate the ability to be as opening and sharing as we can with the community with what's happening so that they can see top themes and things that are coming through. So then I feel like perhaps this is probably helpful for all of the different boards or commissions within the city to review together at some point or separately, because it seems like there's a lot of themes throughout it all, but this gets in a bit of a weed, so I don't, so tell me if I'm in the weeds. But I'm just wondering, is there a methodology that you use to begin to find the themes? So that we can then look at those themes and understand if some are becoming priority, or if we need to do a second survey to try to draw out more information.
Right.
Would you describe your process?
Yes, I'm terrible at describing it, so I apologize for that. Once I go through, like when I was going through, housing, for example, I have noticed that there's been a whole lot focusing on townhomes and senior living. Those have been the two things that popped up the most. And then I correlate that also with some of the other sections, like the community services sections. So like for me, I can already tell you, one of my biggest recommendations is going to be senior living center of some sort, whether it's assisted living or a nursing home, but people in town, it's clear from each of the sections that they feel like seniors are being kind of left to fend for themselves. So like I will find small things like that, and then we go through each of the other sections to find connections. So it's like a big web of ideas. I know that's an awful way to explain it, but
Sounds good. And then could you describe the next steps? So will that come back to this board for some more discussion then before it goes public, or how?
Yes.
Could you describe those next?
yep,
steps?
I will make the full report, which then will be provided to only the EDA board. EDA board will be able to discuss any changes that you guys would like made to it, or tweaks or adjustments. EDA board will approve the final one, and then from that point, we'll send it on to council, P and Z, and share that, and then be able to get it up on the website. But it'll be EDA who will have all the control on
Okay.
the final document.
As we go through the discussion and to be able to, I think Ryland and others, you probably heard the same, that people are excited to hear about what there is. So thinking thoughtfully about how we share that, or if there's other engagement strategies, you know,
Right.
sharing that out, I think will be important.
And if they want to see stuff coming, I mean, I've done the demographic section. It's just that each section is so large. So I mean, we can release some of it by section if people would like to start seeing things faster.
I don't know if people I'm not hearing seeing faster. I think what I'm hearing is that people are excited to hear it. And so perhaps there's notes, you know, that we're working on it. Here's the timeline that we're doing, and we will share a larger report and have opportunity for more engagement. I think it's just some of the feedback in here shows up that we're of the trusting side
Right.
of our commissions and boards. So how can we just continue to be really mindful about building that through this process? I think is
Absolutely.
important.
Yep. And I mean, and there's some people who will write into these and all they want to do is, complain. There are other people who have some absolutely fantastic ideas that are hidden in here. And again, it does also show all those trends as well for just the general.
As I read through some of those, it's all over the map.
Oh, yeah.
It's A to Z. And, I hope you can make sense of it, because if you want to expand and grow, even if you want to stay in a smaller, it takes money. And, it's gotta come from somewhere. So when I look at these, I'm thinking it's like A to Z. We want everything, but we don't wanna have to, where's the money come to pay for it all? So as I look at this, a couple of individuals that have business in town said, they were glad they come to the thing, and they asked me They said, oh, we didn't see you there, Jan, and I explained, I called Ryan, I said, it just happened to be a caucus night.
Yep, yeah.
I
we
was a
didn't
convener.
know, So I apologize for
It's an
that.
object I can't get, but I also had the Bell of Honor out for the the two officers and the paramedic in Rochester. I had that out that night for them at the church in Rochester. In a snowstorm, I did my caucusing, had people there, and I was out in the snowstorm, but I want to remember the three fallen who gave their life for the service of their community and their country. So that's very important to me. So that's why I wanted to be here, but again, but I called Ryan and let him know that I was.
Yeah, I mean, there's more than one way for people to be able to get their responses and their info to us, so.
You know, he's right, or Jan mentions that it's kind of all over the place, but you know, I see some of it, it's both sides of the same coin, you know?
Electric
That's-
vehicles, I think it's hilarious, because
That's both sides. of the same-
absolutely not.
Yes
We
or no?
really use some.
You know, when it comes to a lot of this stuff though, and Ryland's probably familiar with it too. Orinoco's got the city parkland ordinance where it's in development. It's supposed to be in the development agreements where we get the city, there's 10% comes to the city on developments. It's either parkland or cash in lieu of. So there's,
Oh, the parkland dedication.
yeah, parkland dedication, or it was a 10% ordinance, that's where money would be coming from for some of the park issues and, you know, upkeep and
Yep.
stuff. It wouldn't be just strictly for new stuff, because we got a parks department that is gonna be supporting too, but maybe some of that funds could be for new things too.
Yeah, and there's definitely money out there for recreation of most types.
Oh, I see when the reclamation plant gets up and running. I see a total different direction. I read some comments in here, but when that is up and running, that's a plus for everybody. As far as groundwater or anything, your wells, wherever you got going, it's a huge step for Orinoco to be able to offer up A to Z, to have a business to come in, because a comment would be, people always ask me, how come they don't have a car wash here? I said, well, if they had an automatic car washer, it takes, I don't know that a septic system could handle an automatic car wash with everything to do and the water do that. So when you get a water reclamation plant, a car wash could be in line, because now we have the facility to handle the wastewater and the stuff that all goes with that. So you just don't have one car wash, you could have several bays and automatic, whatever. So those opportunities open up that would not be available if that is not, water reclamation plant is not available. So there's a lot of things I foresee when I read these things, the dreams can come true. Is when the plant starts doing what it's doing, it opens up a whole lot of other areas.
Absolutely nothing but opportunity right now.
Why don't we just go through our agenda, because I think I want to give everybody a chance to look at the, talking about here, so let's try and cover our agenda, then maybe we can set aside the last 15 minutes for kind of reading over everything, so. Data overview, I think we covered that. A budget,
We've come in under budget as of right now, which that's good, because anything that's left over of the grant, we can put towards economic development in general, so.
did you have a balance of left, what's from the grant?
I do, and I'm still awaiting some of the hour stuff that I have to get put in there, so I will have the final number for you for sure next month.
Do that in April.
Yep, because that will have to go in when we send back in the Compeer
Yes,
report, so that'll have to go in with it.
that's in the next item, so. I think we're ready for, unless you have anything on the Compeer financial feasibility, we could
Nope.
jump right to the bylaws. That's a copy there. I hope everybody had a chance to read through the bylaws.
And Rylan, you mentioned that one about the city budget. What was the date? August
1 August,
1st, okay.
August 1st, that was on
Page 5.
section 4.6.
Ryland just wanted to add a deadline of August 1st for when we should get our budget request to council each year. Just to kind of give a guideline.
Well, as we get into June and July agendas, we can be prepping for that. The other one was on page 3. Officer vacancies. 2.1, commissioner vacancies. I said vacancies generally will be filled by the mayor appointing a new commissioner. I asked her to put in vacancies. We interview candidates and make recommendations to the council.
No, I was kind of curious about the section 410, it says execution contracts, that, is that going as a recommendation to city council, or is EDA gonna have its own authority to execute a contract? So
The EDA does have the authority to recommend, to execute contracts. Economic Development Authority is a little bit different than other committees, like planning and zoning, for example, is considered more of a subcommittee, whereas the EDA kind of has a little more autonomy, if that makes sense. We'll usually typically have our own budget, and we'll oversee projects on our own without needing the council. Now, granted, anytime that something big is gonna happen, if we're working on getting a business to get an EDA loan or something like that, we'll be managing our own loans. None of the loans will be messing with council at all. Council doesn't have to worry about any of that.
there won't be anything to do with city financing at that.
Well, because it'll be a loan from the city, but it'll be from the EDA's bank account.
So the EDA is already gonna have funds available outside of what the city provides.
Once we work on finding that money, yes.
Okay, that's right.
Yep.
So it's gonna come from grants and outside sources other than city
Well, we,
council.
hopefully, but typically, most cities do support their economic development
I'm not
authorities with an
saying-
annual, with a budget each year.
I'm not saying they don't, but when
Yeah.
it involves city money, I think city council should have some authority to say whether or not.
Unfortunately, based on state statute, that's just not how it works with an economic development authority. It does have a certain level of autonomy to be able to make its own decisions. Now, anything that's gonna be big projects, things like that, they will absolutely have to go to council, absolutely.
Money threshold for that type of activity?
We can set one, but otherwise, if we have $100,000 in our account and we have a project that we'd like to throw $100,000 at, we can do that.
I think.
We are responsible to the citizenry, but we're not responsible to council for that. Because that money is in our account. And I understand where you're coming from wanting the council approval in it. We can certainly keep council abreast of everything. But legally speaking, council cannot stop the EDA from moving on with any projects.
No, I'm
Yeah.
I'm not concerned so much about what the EDA is developed for grants and stuff like that.
Right.
That's money the EDA is scrounged around and.
Right, but we will not be distinguishing between funds.
Oh, I understand
Yeah.
that, but I mean, at that point, I just, when it comes to city funds, I just assume that some city funds go to go for stuff that it wouldn't normally go for. You know, you got,
So not for the EDA?
pardon?
So not for the E EDA?
I'm just saying, I just think that any city funds that get put towards this, the city should have a final say in where it's spent, where it's
Yep.
spent.
And we are part of the city.
Yeah.
We have that level of autonomy, which is great. And that's given to us by the state and also by city council charters, so.
So I guess I got a dumb question here. That's what I do.
They're never done.
Yeah,
But, yeah, when you said that we don't need the permission because we're our own, if we had the money, we could fund it ourselves. I hope that never happens. In the sense that everybody understands their project and agrees with the project, that someone says, you know what? We have our own autonomy, we don't care what this side says, we're gonna go ahead and do it. And then you get that uneasy feeling between the groups. So I only hope that everyone always can work through something that everyone agrees that this is it. I understand what you're saying,
Absolutely,
but
absolutely.
that we're always,
So
everybody's on the same page because I don't wanna get more of these.
Absolutely. Yeah, the only thing I.
Saying that we don't, that things aren't abreast that, and that's why I say it's always best to be transparent and open. That's you answer my question, so I just,
I
Yeah,
think
I
that's
guess
all.
I'm just trying to get it across that once we do have a budget, if we're looking at doing a project and we make a vote to do it, I'm going to get started on the project.
okay,
We can tell council everything. We're gonna be giving them copies of my monthly reports every month. They're gonna have someone from the EDA on council to be able to give them those updates and provide them with the information that they need. But they are not going to be able to tell us that we have to have their approval before we issue a loan,
Okay.
for
I think
example.
a lot of that is just the communication.
Exactly.
What you're telling us tonight for the first time.
Yep.
So I think it's all the communication of what an EDA can do per Minnesota statute that needs to be shared with our citizens, our council.
Right,
Because there is a need to have an EDA to stand alone, I think, in my opinion, but.
absolutely. I
and we have
mean,
two council members that sit on this, so it isn't like the council doesn't know.
well, and that's by statute as well, to ensure that that communication is there.
So there's, you know, and I would suggest you, if you have time to go out and look at Pine Island or Zumbrota or Dover or Yoda, they all have EDAs.
Oh, yes, they do.
And they have these type of minutes and discussions of different bank loans and transition loans. Transition loans tend to be small loans that tell a bank or a loan company that the city EDA supports this program and here's some transition money to help fund for more money. So
It's more of a bridge loan type thing.
a bridge loan, yeah.
Yeah,
bridge
gap
loan,
financing,
transition
we call it
loan.
a lot of times.
So we're learning ourselves, but at the same time, we need to share that with the council and
Yep,
or planning and zoning as well to see where we fit in. So
absolutely.
I think a lot of our work will come from grant money, from DEED, Southeast Minnesota Initiative. There's a lot of different areas that we can get funds from.
I mean,
Bremer Foundation, you know, there's just
What foundation?
what's that?
What foundation?
Bremer, BREMER, Bremer Trust.
yeah, they do really big ones too.
Yeah, they're probably, at least in my experience, a little more difficult to get funding from, but it is available if you have the right
A
story.
lot of them come with a lot of strings attached to them, don't they?
What's that?
A lot of these grants come with a lot of strings.
Oh, they always have some strings, but usually there's strings we can,
Some
you can
matching,
weave in pretty
some no
good.
matching, so.
Yeah. For example, actually, just so you guys know, at our community meeting, I was chit-chatting with, the two daughters owner and talking about the small strip mall that they're looking at putting up in there. Because they haven't actually started doing any of the plans on any of that, she and I are going to be sitting down to talk about doing, what's called a MIF loan. So, the Minnesota Investment Fund, they will help out with projects, but we have to have a project ready to go, which I'm hoping is this, where we would offer her a loan for probably 0% interest, just for the fact that she's doing it to help us. And we would get that loan money all from the state. And then what the state's agreement is that by doing that project, as they pay it back, we get half the money. And half of the money then gets to go as our, to help start our EDA's revolving loan fund. So if they needed $500,000, we could have $250,000 to put in our revolving loan fund. So that's definitely something that we're looking into. So she and I are gonna be having a couple meetings to talk about it. Obviously, we can't do the application till we're ready to get going with it, but, and that won't happen till the restaurant starts, but at least we know we have a project that we can try to anchor onto, and she's definitely on board, for the discussion, so. That's one place we can find some money.
That's after the doors are open, that discussion will start.
Yep.
Interesting.
Okay, let's go back to our bylaws here. Good discussion.
And Adam,
This
actually,
is
you were,
pretty much a boilerplate bylaws, I'm guessing, and just matter of slipping into unique things, but I think it's,
and it has already been reviewed by our city attorney.
I had just a small and technical question, but on the section 2.5 treasurer, responsibilities talks about the treasurer shall disperse authority money by check only. Is that really how things are done still. And now I still write a checkbook. I use a checkbook. I'm kind of old school like that, but the city government pass money around by checks and make copies of checks, and we're not using like a city of Orinoco's credit card for stuff.
Checks, yeah.
Check.
Pay by
I
check.
was
Okay.
gonna say, I never think of that even.
Is it that way like in Rochester? It's not, is it? I don't know.
I don't know.
Doesn't matter. I guess I don't know how government spend money, but to me, it seems like wiring funds or.
We don't use Venmo yet. so-
No, yeah.
We can certainly add language in to cover electronic.
It doesn't matter,
transfers,
because if we go aside for, I mean, it sounds like that's what we do now, check, but if we chose to in the future, we can amend the bylaws, I'm sure, but not a big deal.
Electronic transfer would need the same type of authorizations.
Mhm. We can just put in based on, based on current city practice, city finance practices, so that way it covers both ends. That's a good point.
Um,
Is there a clause in here that says how often you revisit the bylaws?
It actually,
That's not a bad thing, to visit occasionally.
yeah, because I know we have it amended by needed, but I think
See that?
most places, most cities will review them annually just to make sure there's nothing that does need to be changed and then to be able to make that change. So we could make that part of our annual meeting.
Probably wouldn't hurt to make it biannual or something like that,
Mhm.
every other year or something.
Yeah,
Seems like red, is the annual meeting date in here?
Yeah, there's something in there about the.
it states that we have to have one, yes.
Page 3.
Is
No,
it 3?
no, that's our
Oh,
annual.
3 annual
It's
meetings.
in January or something, January.
It's the month of January, the fourth Tuesday in January.
Annual meetings, regular meeting.
3.1.
So I'll put on there that we're gonna have a review of the bylaws at that meeting as well then.
Okay. With any
We can
bylaw.
add that to that section.
Yeah, I'll put that, we'll have that annual review. And then once these are decided, I'll get them updated and over to Renee because these will have to be approved by council so that we can be official.
We're not nonprofit, are we?
Hmm?
We're not nonprofit.
Yes, because we're government.
All governments.
So
nonprofit.
I didn't see anything in here about nonprofit status.
That's because we're government, so it doesn't
Would you like
change
to
any
say-
status.
State it.
City council doesn't say it, they're nonprofit either.
Yeah, all government entities.
But the city
Okay, I just
council
wanted-
is a corporation.
I mean, if we want to put it in here, we certainly can.
It's up to you, but you've done in other cities, I guess. It's kind of understood, but I just wanted to.
I'll double check on a couple other ones just to see what kind of language they might have.
So will our. Okay. No, okay. Enabling resolution took care of all that.
Oh, yep.
Okay, that's. It just came to my mind, that's why exactly made it all happen to begin with, so that's under the city, so got it.
So under section 4, we just talked about the bylaws. About reviewing them as the first thing. And 4.1 says they can be changed or amended by, so what you're saying is even though we look at them in January, that if in June you want to change something, this allows that you can change, you can always review it in January, but you can change them at any time. Is that, am I reading that
Which number is
correctly?
that under?
411.
411.
The fiscal year,
4.11
calendar
that-
year.
When you talk about review, usually, and then it says at any time, so,
Mhm.
okay, so that, I'm reading that correctly.
Yep, you absolutely are. And I think the reason we're putting in the review is just so that we don't neglect
Okay.
to do it.
Okay,
But in section 4.1, should we say? The city's fiscal year is the calendar year.
Well, if you did anything in 411, I think you'd refer back to that other one, that they're being reviewed annually under section 311. 3.1. Under 411, just put that, add a comment to refer back to section 3.1 for the annual.
Would you just walk me through your thought process in that? Because I think the amendments one is
Fiscal year.
described so that if there is a
Financial.
change throughout the year, it can be addressed.
Mhm.
And the
And this is reviewing it
reviewing
separate.
separate,
Totally separate
Yep.
actions.
okay.
Yeah, they're separate actions. So
Maybe wanna
just,
check it
just,
out.
so just leave it as the annual review under section 3.1.
Yep, I've got that, so we'll add that onto there.
So who's actually the treasurer? Is it, we talked about treasurer.
Renee kind of, because she's like the only one who can do any of the financial stuff. So technically right now it'd be her. The secretary and treasurer do not have to be members of the board.
And I don't, it might be good to review, like, I think they still have to be appointed.
Mhm.
Right, so we,
Yeah, we did that at the January meeting, I
Yeah.
believe.
I was just wondering if we had appointed Renee at that point as treasurer, like, is there a documented motion? I think is what you're asking.
Pretty much. I'm
Yeah.
Curious.
We just want to double check for a minute for the,
These designate ones.
Yeah.
So we have to
So it's-
designate
yeah.
somebody officially. So do we need to actually, when Renee's the designated one, would we just in there for the language, would just say that we referred back to the city offices, be the treasurer?
Not necessarily because they're
There's actual changes, whatever.
right, but these are annually elected positions. So technically, it could become a member, it could. So we don't necessarily want to codify, I think, any of that.
Well, than what you brought up, I look at it, it seems all right to me.
I think if you could check.
Well,
the
it's a
treasurer.
living
Yep.
document,
I think that-
so it'll be changed somewhere down the way.
You got it. That I can do. Believe we did, but I will double check.
So just suggested to Rebecca that we just double check the minutes that we did make an appointment for treasurer, because there was a lot of moving pieces back then, so just making sure that it's actually in the minutes that Renee is appointed the treasurer.
Yeah.
So that's appointed, because then when we review it, we'll need to reappoint.
Right.
At that point,
Just clarifying.
clarifying, yep, we've appointed it, so.
I thought the judge, what's the judge's name? I'm sorry. It's not escaping me now, but the judge that was on our.
Yeah,
EDA
Marcia.
I thought Marcia was the treasurer and I was the vice treasurer. Was that?
Marcia did say she would be the treasurer.
Yeah.
We didn't have any money, so it's easy.
Right, so it's easy to do.
It's easy to do, because.
So, when you say appointed, I don't know if we got as far as appointing her or not, but.
Because I know that we voted president, vice president, secretary. I know that we did those votes, so I will double check on the other one, but when we looked through these previously, we talked about the vice secretary and treasurer positions, and we decided that we would just do away with
Not
them.
necessary because of how
Yeah.
small they are.
So I just took them out of the bylaws.
So since Marcia left, has it been redesignated back to Renee then?
And that's what we'll check, that's what Rebecca. will
Yeah, I'll check on that for sure.
So is the process that we'll see one more version of this with final edits, or are we looking for a motion tonight to accept with edits?
If we have a motion tonight, because all we'll do is just the changes we discussed, and I'll send it out to everyone, and then hopefully when council takes a look at it next month, they would.
I will put a motion forward that we accept this with the amendments that we did there. As the mayor says, the living document.
And I'll send it out before it goes back to council, so if you do see anything, please let me know and we'll fix it, but hopefully this should be pretty easy fix.
I'll second Jan's motion.
I think when you make them changes, make sure you just put highlights or say what changes were made. Has the council seen these before?
No, not yet.
It'd be in the package, yeah.
Yep, this will be the first time.
Be the first time they've seen it.
Any other comments?
Great work.
A great step.
Thank you.
Seeing none, all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? It's approved. Thank you, Rebecca. So, old business. Contact.
Everybody got my emails, right? Awesome. So at least we know we got that all figured out. For any of you who are having difficulties with the city email, Renee sent me this lovely instruction thing on the step-by-steps of how to do it. Because she said that Sunny had gotten them set up and I don't have access to try and help, so we thought maybe this will help. So at least there's some written out instructions that should help to get you guys access. If you're still having problems, please let me know and we'll do what we can to see if we can't get that fixed for you. And Paul, I was talking with Renee, because you're also city council, don't worry about your EDA one. Just use city council because there's really no reason to use you.
The city council is using my email that you've got.
Right, but the one where I'm able to send sensitive documents to?
I don't know who else is gonna get them if they're coming to me.
Right, but they have to, legally, we have to send them through city email. If they're official
Put them in the
documents.
box, let me know that
Okay.
that's something for me to look at.
Okay.
I'm not gonna set up a city email.
Okay, but you will be checking,
I'll have to come up and check it weekly.
well, right, but that's also how I communicate with you all.
I understand. You're here once a week, I'm gonna come up here once a week, check my email or check the box and.
Okay.
So,
I don't check my email every day.
It's really a legal concern.
I understand what you're saying. You know, if you sent something to me,
Well, and we've
then
made
I
an
gotta-
agreement with the city that I follow those city laws, so I have to abide by those.
don't include me on the email. I'm just saying, I'm not gonna set up a city email account. Okay,
So you won't be reviewing our documents before meetings?
well, I'll come up, if they're in my box up there, I'll come up and get them before the meeting and look at them.
Okay.
I'm just not gonna set.
then we're
I'm not
asking
gonna set-
Renee to print the documents off, to put in your box.
I just think that a level of professionalism with this type of an organization is essential,
Yes.
personally. I just think that it's very important that we remember that these are laws that are on the books because somebody somewhere did something that made it so we have to. And it's not saying that anybody else is going to make any mistakes or do anything, but the reason they make these as laws is because they want us to follow them. So I just want to stress that I think that we should be following these.
So I got these three, I mean, he set me up, I talked to the gentleman, I got a little button on my computer, I hit that. This all pops up. So from you, I got the agenda and this, so I'm on the right. I'm getting the right stuff from
I
you.
have some personal emails that I'm using right now because we're having trouble setting up the city ones.
Jan, she's talking about, remember when we got assigned a new email address that was.
I
at the
never,
city or-
okay, I
You,
never,
you and I both were in the same boat. We weren't very tech savvy, but she's saying that for us to get documents related to the EDA that are government stuff, it has to have a specified email account. It can't just go into your Hotmail or my Gmail.
no, it isn't, it's.
Right. So you're not having an issue.
No, she set up a whole different little, and it's not my Hotmail, a whole little different icon. I called the guy.
Yeah.
And he worked me through it, and I got a little icon on the bottom of my computer, and I click on it. All this comes up with
Yep.
your information, and I just wanna be clear that when you talk about, I am, cause I
Yep.
periodically check that, and so I'm good. I'm getting your stuff, I believe I'm getting your stuff.
Right. So you're,
I'm in good to do that, cause I
Because I
click on
know
it.
for
check.
sure that you, Jan, and Rylan all are using the city, and you are too, I believe.
There's a little blue icon, he
No,
set-
right now I've got a Gmail.
there's a little blue icon, he set me up on my thing, where I push the button, and
sure.
all EDA stuff comes up under that website. only.
I'm not gonna be able to do this.
It doesn't come up under my email or anything else, I gotta go to that web
So,
to do that.
but I think, going forward, I think there is going to be a lot more sensitive information
Right.
coming in this.
And it's important that everybody comes to the meetings knowing all the information.
Make an informed decision.
Absolutely. So that is what I would
agree with
ask.
that. You have to be informed, make a decision.
So that is how you set up email. Hopefully it works. Like I said, if you guys do still have problems, please let me know and Renee and I will see what we can do. Hopefully this new administrator will be familiar with our email system too.
All right, work plan review, coming up on 8 o'clock here, so anything you wanna? We've been involved pretty with this community engagement right now, so.
I think you just wanted me to include it so we could review if there was anything, but it actually looks like we're pretty on point for the 90 days right now. We're just all done with pretty much everything except that final report.
Okay,
And community outreach did take a
Yeah.
backseat just because of the data time.
That's our work plan going forward, so.
Sorry, I mean, business introductions. That's what I was talking about. Sorry.
Oh, sure. Update. Director's update, February report, yeah, okay. Everybody get a chance to look at that? Outlines the comments you've made and contacts that you've had. A lot of those contacts were actual community engagement planning, but
All of these ones are outside of that particular evening, just because I figured it'd be too many people tonight.
I just wanted to note that these reports are really helpful and appreciate the time that you put into them.
But yeah, we'll include those with all the council packets too. That way they kind of can see what I've been doing in the background.
so from that engagement evening, did you keep all the Post-its and everything or transcribed all that?
I've got all of it. Yep.
That's all documented, okay?
Is it that one sheet with all of the Post-its written?
No, the Post-its were more like ideas that we put up on big post, those giant jumbo Post-it notes. We had different ones around the room with different topics like transportation, education, those kind of things. And then people could go and write what they think was a strength, weakness, a threat, or an opportunity for each of them. And then more people would go around looking and building off of each of the Post-it notes. So yeah, they were all layered and different ideas happening everywhere, so. I've got photos of them and I've still got them rolled up in my office, just in case.
So this housing workforce development program training. You attended that, I see, that's good.
And I don't know if you guys are familiar with Lasso, the statewide Lasso training that went on. That's for being able to list properties. So it's statewide, so that'll be really helpful if we're looking at if a business is looking to sell or find a new owner for a building or just even a piece of property. We can list them on there, so that I was able to get done too.
That'd be for anybody that contacted the EDA to promote a project.
Yep. Or if for some reason we ever decided we wanted to do like a industrial park or something like that, yeah.
Okay, very good. Super, all right, anything else regarding Rebecca's report?
And I did confirm that all of our advertisements did run. I've got my subscription to the newspaper now and I have all of my copies, so we did get all of our advertisements in.
Well, let's take 10 minutes here. You want to look at that and just, or you can. Better yet, why don't we just. We can make a motion to adjourn the meeting and just stay along as you want to read the document and then leave. So I make a motion, the meeting adjourned at 7:50.
I'll second.
Favor say aye.
Aye.
Please leave your copy with them.
And Renee is also going to keep these copies, so I'm gonna be putting them into the office or down on the floor tonight. So if you ever want to just come in to peek at them, she will have them. So that you can come in and look at them anytime. I believe it'll be available for, if you guys are okay with it, we can say that council members could certainly stop in, but I'd leave that to you guys.
You can stop the recording then, right? The meeting's over.
What's that?
You stop the recording.
Oh, sure.
Meeting over.
Thank you.
But then you guys can come in to do rereads